Hello, everyone. My name is Frank Anthony, and welcome back to Let Me Be Frank, episode 63. I hope you guys are doing well. Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you are listening to this. I hope all of you who are listening and watching, I hope you guys are doing well. It seems like things are starting to progress forward when it comes to society and our world and everything. So yeah, I wanted to wish you guys some well wishes. I noticed I don't always do that, so sorry for that. I'm going to try to do that a little bit more. Anyway, today's phone of friends. So we got another podcast host. He also has a radio show as well. His name is Bill Troveski. And I kind of have a funny story about Bill I never even told him in general. So before I had never seen what he looked like, and I never even heard his voice. I didn't get to check out his radio show or his podcast yet before we had scheduled to record an interview. And normally I ask guests for like their picture for advertising and stuff like that and some info. And his picture was a picture of his podcast logo, which is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just I had never seen, even on his social media, there wasn't really his face anywhere. So I just assumed he was like this 50-year-old man. So then when we go to record and he pops up, he's not a 50-year-old man at all. If you're watching this episode or if you want to check on the YouTube version, he's not a 50-year-old man at all. He's a young man, a young handsome man, and I just didn't expect that at all. And stuff. So that was something interesting that I wanted to share, because I really thought I was getting like, which there's nothing wrong with having like a 50-year-old man on my show. Like, hey, come on, come on. Come on the show. I have no problem with that. It's just funny how expectations are in certain things. Like, you think something's going to happen and it just ends up being completely different. So I just thought that was funny. But anyway, yeah, it was cool talking to Bill. He has, like I said, he has his own podcast and radio show. It's called The Way. And yeah, we talk about his show and we talk about some of his guests. He'll probably talk about in the episode, he interviews specific experts on matter. And yeah, I finally got to listen to a show after we did the interview. And yeah, I like his layout. I like his show. And yeah, you guys should definitely go check him out after you listen and or watch this episode. So I hope you guys enjoy this episode, and yeah, enjoy. All right. Hey, Bill, how's it going?
It's going good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. And I do want to thank you for being on the show today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show. It's a pleasure to be here.
No, it's awesome. And we're going to get into, because you have your own show, podcast, and on the radio. So I'm really excited to learn more about that. But first, I want to ask a question that I ask all my guests. If you were a novel, what would the back of your book say?
Oof. That's an interesting one. It's like your whole background, your whole summary. I guess the novel would be just kid coming to follows up with college, but decides to take a different route and has been pursuing it, hoping to have a strong ending.
Nice. What was your journey before?
I don't know. Everybody's like doing their own thing. So me, I went through stuff. Then I went to become a mechanical engineer, graduated, and it's a little different field, but now sort of going down a new route.
Cool. I can relate to that. I went to school for psychology, and then as I was starting to go for the masters, I liked it, but I realized I didn't love it. It wasn't my passion. And I feel like when you work in the world, like, you got to enjoy your work and love it to a certain extent. So
Yeah, way back, I like guest on a show where the guy would he would have the guest say two stories, one a truth, one a lie. And he had a whole psychology background. So apparently he was able to like read his guests like, oh, that's a sign that he's lying or anything. so can you do anything like that with your psychology degree? Are you like analyzing when you record?
I'm a big overanalyzer in general, but I don't that would be a little bit that'd be a little bit tougher for me. But I mean, if I really tried, I don't know, maybe I could.
Sherlock Holmes it.
I was gonna say I do it whenever I'm on a date.
There you go. Just sometimes I know like you can overanalyze freaking a hour in and you're like, oh, she lifted with her right hand for the fork. That means, oh, this is going awful.
Yeah, no, it's such. I think it's a force of habit, not for everyone, but I know for me at least. When like you're hanging out with someone or something, or on a date, and then yeah, you notice certain things, like maybe they look at their phone and stuff, and then yeah, sometimes I'll second guess that. I'm trying to be a lot more laid back as I go forward in life because it's like it's not worth stressing over every little potential thing that could be happening, and it might not even be.
Yeah, a little stoicism approach.
Yeah. So yeah, you have a podcast and radio show called The Way. And what is your podcast about, and how did you end up on the radio?
Yeah, so first off, I local radio station, I saw they had some openings, so I went there just to basically be an audio engineer. I just wanted to learn the board, I want to learn the software, all that stuff. But while doing that, I said, "Hey, let me make my own show out of it. I have a nice opportunity. I think I could do something good myself." So I went through a training process, and after that, I just started my own show. And from there, basically, what my show is, I sit down, I talk to experts on topics. So I had some fun topics. I had Ken Lewis. He's got his 103rd platinum and gold record the other day. So that was about
Wow,
music. But then I talked to some guy who spent 7 years in Colombia where he wrote a book on cocaine. So he's with like the gang members. I even had one inmate from death row call in one time. So basically,
I
people,
saw that one.
yeah, that was an interesting one. But I just cover a bunch of topics. And if somebody's an expert on the topic, like if they know their stuff on it, I just sit down and talk with them about it.
Awesome. What inspired you to want to do like make a show like this?
Basically, I I've met like a ton people meet a lot of people, but I've met a lot of people through like different areas. I've had many jobs, I've had many different organizations, like just I've met a ton of people and I met so many interesting people with different backstories. But when I talk to these people, I always found myself being the one who talked less. Like people would love to tell me everything and I was like, "Oh wow, you just told me your whole life story. Thanks, man." We just met like a minute ago. All right. But just taking that, and I love like listening. I love learning on random topics. So I was like, all right, this is a cool way that I can just talk to some crazy people and like learn because I do like to learn like random shit here and there.
Cool. Yeah, I mean it's interesting when you're the host and then we have to be the guest and kind of switch it. And then you're like, crap, I actually do yeah, I might have to do more of the talking and maybe be a little bit more vulnerable than I'm used to being the
Yeah,
host.
I got the hang of like I love doing my show because I'm just at a point where I really enjoy it. It's all casual, but yet when
Yeah.
I have job interviews, I am still shit at them, and it doesn't correlate at all.
Yeah, I know. I guess it's just yeah. Maybe because yeah, there's still like this I don't know. I think for me it maybe because like the amount of professionalism that you can feel in the room and just the pressure of like I need this job to make X amount of money. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, there's like the whole competition factor too.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to stand out.
On my show, I can say where the fuck I want whenever I
Yeah.
want.
I
Yeah.
know. I was gonna say it's definitely one of the best jobs.
Yep.
For the and if I remember correctly, your show Wednesdays at 5
Yep. Radio Wednesdays at 5.
on radio. Okay. What about the podcast?
Tuesdays, and I think I start at 8 a.m., but yeah, Tuesday mornings.
Okay, cool. All right. So yeah, for you guys listening or watching, make sure you check that out. There's gonna be links in the description too below. Yeah, so yeah, you talked about some of the guests. Do you have like a favorite guest that you've had so far?
Yeah, that's I kind of can't answer because I have like multiple favorites. It's kind of like red's a great color, blue's a great color, green's a great color, like. But I will say ones that I guess stand out. Like I just did one with a hacker in Uruguay. He was the first one to be arrested for hacker charges, and he went through this whole crazy story. And that's like I guess a recent favorite because it's such a fun episode. I guess I mean it was a very serious one, but the guy's just a great guy. The Ken Lewis one, like, this dude's leagues above me, but he was so down to earth, it just felt so casual. And I have one coming up soon on China with this woman who's a professor. She spent years there, and, like, just now editing that one, I was like, "Oh, wow, I really enjoyed this one too." So they're all my favorite. I mean, I have someone's there's variety, but overall, I like them all.
Cool, yeah. That's the best when before you meet someone, you see like you might be a little nervous because they have like such a big following online or they're, quite successful in their field. And then it's so relieving when they are down to earth and they didn't like change because of the fame or the money or whatever. So yeah, it's definitely cool.
Yeah, 100%. That Ken Lewis one I was, like, really stressing about, and there are a few other ones too, but that one stood out the most where I was like, I gotta be prepared. I gotta focus. I got lighting, everything."
And I know I swear probably some of my biggest guests was when I had the most technical difficulties. I'm like, you know,
Oh, those never, go away. I lost a whole episode a month or 2 ago, and I'm still upset about that.
there was a time where luckily it was with a close friend where recorded for an hour and a half, and then I found out it wasn't even recording.
Oh my god.
So to ask them to do that again, I was like, thank God I know you well enough because I couldn't ask a stranger to do that again. Like that's just too much.
And then, like, you gotta retrace your steps, like, "Oh, wait, then I think you said this coming up. We went to this topic." Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, it's not like maybe there was like such a good energy the first time. So to try to recreate that, it's like you're not going to say all the same stuff again unless it was scripted. But
I guest appeared on this one podcast like a few weeks ago, the History Forager podcast, and we had to restart like 3 times because one of my laptops was a little fucked up and didn't work too well. So it kept like just I don't even know how to explain it, but we had to restart 3 times. About a third time, it's like, "All right, how you doing again? Doing good. How's your day?"
God, yeah, that sucks. Not fun. One topic you discussed on your show, I want to say too, and that you said that you would maybe want to talk about that I also find interesting is addiction. What are your views or beliefs on addiction?
Yeah, that one came up for a few episodes too. There was yeah, this one guy did a great documentary on it. We just followed us. I guess I'll start with the other one first so I can say my views. It kind of relates better. But a very recent one was Dr. Adi Jaffe. He excellent guy. He really knows his stuff, wrote a book on addiction, and it's a tough problem that plagues America. Shockingly, I didn't even realize this, but alcohol kills so much more than any other opioid and everything combined. But they still all, I mean, we are in an epidemic. But his approach is instead of abstinence, we don't have to say we're powerless. We don't have to give up and like sort of put everything on faith. We can still look towards moderation. And once you reach a point, like once you become physically dependent on your addiction, a little bit past that, you can't do moderation. Like it won't work, then you need abstinence. But in a good amount of cases, I mean 40 to 60% I think fail who go abstinence fail after a year. So abstinence isn't working. It works, but it's not as well as we want it to. So that makes me say moderation is a great way to go or a great option because I mean they're all options. Each person's different. So I liked his approach for addiction. But then like I said, there's the documentary, the guy who created one where it follows this woman who's pregnant and she has a husband, they have kids. And while she's pregnant, you see her taking heroin constantly, you see her smoking meth, she's like everything. It's horrible. While she's doing that, I the moderation approach wouldn't even work for her because she tried like rehab
No.
or so it's just tough because it's such a complicated issue that comes from either escapism, like in that film, she had a history of abuse, and there's so many other cases like that. So the idea, what Dr. Adi Jaffe said, and what I agree with is addiction always sort of stems from somewhere else. Nobody just like starts smoking crack and then it's like, wow, I want to smoke some more crack.
Yeah. No.
It always comes from like a need to escape or there's a personal issue that they can't deal with. So the example he used and that I wrote in the description is when you go to a hospital with a broken leg and a crutch, you don't get rid of the crutch, which is sort of like the abstinence. You kind of treat the foot. So when people are suffering from addiction, instead of like making them quit addiction, addiction is their crutch. You need to figure out why they're using this crutch. You need to figure out why they're becoming addicted and get to the center of their mental health.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely an interesting way, yeah, of explaining it. The only thing, and this is just my opinion, because I think about like food and stuff, which obviously these are different topics, but with the word moderation, like that comes in food and alcohol and everything else. But I guess my only issue is with moderation. I just don't like that word personally because everyone is different. So it's like someone like one person's moderation could be completely different from someone else's. Just like I said, that's just my opinion where I don't know, like I
That makes sense. And one of his examples too, because again, like everybody's different, so one person moderation won't work. But an example he used was there's this alcoholic that came to him who would get blackout drunk every single day, like just pure blackout. And he talked to the doctor and he was able to sort of just get really drunk, maybe like once a week or maybe it was every day, I forget, but like he went from getting blacked out, almost hospitalized every day to getting like drunk or buzz, which is still bad for you, but at least it's a step up from the yeah.
not as bad as death.
Yeah, literally.
And yeah, no, I can understand. With your show, with all these professionals and experts and stuff, what do you want listeners to gain from listening to your shows?
Like I said before, I'm the person who likes to learn stuff. I'll pick up a book or I'll go on the Wikipedia article here and there because I want to dive into stoicism or I want to dive into addiction or whatever, or even like why the sky is blue. Like, so I want people who tune into my show to sort of just dip their foot in the water of a random topic each week. Like, just pick up some knowledge, learn something. I like to have experts on my show, so like you're learning from the best. I'll say, even like today, I just uploaded an episode on flat Earth, and I don't think the Earth is flat. So I want you to also learn how to critically think.
I know some people, I might have a listener or two that disagree, but to each his own.
Yeah, to each your own. I I will say towards the end of the episode, he started saying climate change isn't real, so stuff like that is harmful. I think that I don't like. But you can have your own belief, I guess. I don't know. I'm the host. You think yourself. I don't know. But I also want people to critically think. Like you said something about moderation where you didn't like the view of it, and that's sort of your way of critical thinking and like sort of questioning what I said. And I support that. I want the listeners to be able to. I did an episode 2002 Venezuelan coup. One of the journalists was in it, and on YouTube, like, I got a good response, like, a good page response about where she made a mistake, and I was like, "Oh, okay, I that's a good point." So I, researched it myself, and I was like, "Alright, thanks for the input." It wasn't like a deliberate like, she didn't do it deliberately, she just represented something. So I put that in the description, like, "Oh, here's an update. This is a small, when she words this, she means this really," or something like that. What was the question again?
What you answered it for the most part. Like, what did you want listeners to gain from listening to your show?
Yeah, so basically just all of that, and I guess that's just the idea. Yeah, like sort of learning a little bit about something each episode.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think about like just with at least with social media as an example, how some people, whether it was like politics or COVID or whatever, like people would just go at each other. I mean, you didn't even know each other, just call each other names, whatever, start bringing up the articles and all that. And I think one thing I wanted with this show was to be able, not that we're really disagreeing on much or anything, but just to be able to have that open dialogue where it's like you don't have to, like, you don't agree with one thing and what, like, you're gonna call them stupid, like that's dumb. Like that's not productive, that's not anything. I do like that you made a good point. I think when you mentioned, like, when you're talking about your flat earth episode, and it's one thing to I don't know. I'm trying to think of an example of like a harmless belief. Maybe like in a way, yeah. But when you said the climate change, it's like, yeah, I mean that is more serious. Like I wouldn't like if I had a guest on the show, and that's kind of why I'll speak up too. If I had a guest on the show that was like, yeah, I love Nazis and I love the violence they cause, like it's like I'm not gonna just be like, okay. So like that's just, it's like you gotta like step up a like you can't just allow, yeah, like hateful acts or violence or yeah, dangerous knowledge that could be spun into like some really big conspiracy theory or something like that.
Yeah, and that's been like the hardest thing to balance that I think I'm finally getting the hang of is early on I had an idea like, oh, let me just be a 60-minute sort of like just question, response, move on or something. But after talking to other podcasters and other people, they sort of said like, just make the show your own, make it what it is. So even if so, like I I have a researcher. She'll give me like 10 page for each episode, and like I'll read that and stuff, and also ask questions. But I still have conversations. But now it's just a lot more. I can say whatever the fuck I want. I can take it whatever route because I'm my own boss.
No, and I know that's what's great about having these shows or even being on shows. I mean, you're not even being a guest on show. I don't think people are usually too restricted on what to say. Maybe don't swear or something, but besides that, it's not like I don't know. I've seen a lot of podcasts I've listened to and stuff. I mean, people will say anything, which is cool.
Oh yeah, and what I forgot to say too with like the being my own boss thing. Yeah, so if somebody's like a Nazi on my show and they're saying like down to the Jews or something, I don't have to be like, why do you think that? I'll be like,
Yeah.
I can literally be like, yo, dude, you're kind of fucked up. Like,
You could, yeah, exactly.
yeah, he gets pissed at me. Okay, bro, but you're still fucked up.
It's so true though. I like to ask this question too for guests. What is one of the most important lessons you've learned in life?
Is it podcast related or just in general?
Anything.
I guess the most important thing in life is sort of just do what you want and like go for it, I guess. Like that applies to everything, but the butter like just if you combine that with the butterfly effect, like if you wanna go for a hike or if you wanna start a podcast or if you wanna do whatever, sort of just like take a step because you taking that step can butterfly effect to so many drastic things. Like in life, I've was like, oh, I don't even want to talk to these people, but let me go out of my way to go talk to somebody, or let me go out of my way to start this event or like whatever. And it just opens doors you wouldn't even think about. Like it's literally the butterfly effect. So basically taking a step in one direction can when you could down the road freaking own a house in Hawaii or something. Like I don't even know, but that's the best lesson I'd say. Just go for it, like go for things even if you don't really want to.
Huh. I would say that last part of it, that was interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, yeah, I mean, fear can definitely slow us down sometimes or prevent us from doing certain things. So, yeah. So I guess I don't that's how I kind of took the last part of that you said go for it even if you don't want to because there's certain things maybe we don't really want to do or right away, but that we will end up living a happier life after we do it. Maybe it's like a roadblock or something.
Yeah, definitely. With my college years, I joined extra clubs or something, or like went out to a bar when I didn't want to, or something, or like something, and like it just makes a drastic difference. Guest for episodes, it's like I don't want to have this person as a guest, but you know what? Let me do it anyway. And like, yeah, that's not nobody specific that we talked about earlier, but
Yeah.
it's happened.
Oh, I get
Yeah.
it. Yeah, I mean, I haven't personally, like, I haven't loved every single guest that's come. I thank every single guest and grateful for coming on, but it's still, I don't know, to me, it's still interesting just to see how people think and how differently we can think from the other person. I never want to live in a world where, like, my whole circle or my whole online circle is just like the same exact belief and then I'm never being challenged on like how I think or just on certain things in the world.
Yeah, and that reminds me too, like at the end of all my episodes, I ask like a guest, what's your final message? In that Venezuelan episode I talked about earlier, her final message was she was like a journalist reporter, and she says what she sees the most that she hates is how polarized everything is, because it's literally like pure one side, pure the other side, sort of no middle ground. Like there's a lot of nuance to everything. Some side is more right than other sides, like just about every time, but there's still times to switch over. There's times to look at the other side of the picture. And I did an episode on these two people. One was a anarchist, one was a socialist. But then like 2-3 weeks later, I did one on like the flat earth, which can be right wing, but then I do an episode with the right wing economic policy versus left wing, and they each get the equal talk time. It's just look at I try to look at every side of the picture I can.
Yeah, I same way. I think that's a healthy way to think in general. Some people might think like, for example, I don't know, yeah, someone that's conservative, like this one conservative belief, I have to have all the conservative beliefs. And sometimes everything's not black and white like that. There's some gray matter to certain topics.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
To yeah, wrap up the interview, and just in case for people, some people don't read the description and stuff, so just in case and they're listening or watching, what are your social media links or website links that you want people to follow you on or check out?
Sounds good. Yeah, people listening, please go to podcasttheway.com. Instagram, Twitter, at podcasttheway. But yeah, the main thing, podcasttheway.com.
Cool. And then you sent me a link tree that has all your, was that all the links to the podcast and stuff?
Yep, just click it and then it's the same thing. You see the website and all the Spotify's, iTunes, all that.
Awesome. Yeah, so that will all be below. And yeah, thank you so much, Bill.
Hey, Past Frank here, and I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Make sure you subscribe to stay updated on new episodes, leave a review on Apple Podcasts, and if you'd like to become a producer or make a one-time donation to the show, click on the Buy Me a Coffee link in the description. I want to give a special thanks to my executive producer, Monica Leigh, and producers Jennifer Herrera, Alexa Hunt, Stephanie Lindsay, Kas Nolan, Alana Rasmussen, and Rebecca Russo. I also want to thank each and every one of you for listening and watching the show. Have a super special, awesome day, and bye.